Okay, I thought I'd document the build of this Eel battery box. I have here some brand new MB31 cells. They came 4 in a box. These come, I got these from Eel also. They come with these cheap, these aluminum, solid aluminum posts, you know, to go between the batteries, but nobody's going to use these because this kit comes with flexible ones, flexible bus bars. And I used the QR code reader and I documented all these. These are pretty fresh. I think it was like July 23rd, 2025. It's only, they're only manufactured a couple months ago. Or 3 months ago. Anyway, these are what these look like. They're nice cells. This one I had 280 amp hour, and these were Eve 230, 314 amp hour. They called it MB31s. These are MB31s. These are LF 280 amp hour. These are going to be MB31. Some of the differences between this was version 5 box. These are version 5 box. Eel version 5. The difference being that this doesn't have a breaker on it. It has this just to turn the BMS off. Where this new one, which is version 6 box, it has a breaker on it. This one has an internal, the old one, version 5, has an internal fuse, which is, you know, maybe not the best one. Where this one came with a Class T fuse, which we'll look at in a minute. This has version JK inverter BMS version 15, and this new one has JK BMS version 19, the newest one. So yeah, I wished I had those here, but you can see the display is different in that this one sticks out and this is nice and flush. Not a big deal to me. The other big difference is that you had to assemble all this stuff in here, the BMS, and this one comes all pre-built. I already took anyway, I already took it out of the box. Of course, it had the top plate on, just held with 2 screws, you know, to keep it from bouncing around shipping. And this had a couple screws on the side here, which I took off. I just took off, so this whole thing comes out. Let's take a look at it. If I get something to put it on, don't scratch it up too bad. Oh, don't drop it. Okay, here's the face. See, it comes all pre-built. You don't have to put this all together like I did on the other one, which saves you some time. It's pretty nice. Here's the new, they have a Class T fuse in this one, and the breaker. So, and you got the BMS, so you can have it. You got kind of 3 safeties, I guess. You got this, you got the Class T fuse, and the BMS will shut it off. So otherwise, it's the version 19 it's supposed to be. It's got these nice flexible bus bars here. I know Off Grid Garage was commenting how they cut. I don't want to take it apart right now. It'd be a little pain to take off, but he was commenting, I think before, one of those companies, I don't know if it was Eel or the other one, they cut this to fit in the breaker. They had just trimmed off some edges, but it's hard to see on here with the heat shrink. I think it's not like that because this is doubled up here. So it's extra thick to make up if they trimmed it down to fit in the breaker. Just a kind of fine point of current handling, you know, where you're getting your full current capability. So, not too much more to see on this BMS. It's got all the wires here to plug in. These are going to go into these bars here. Let me get this out of the way. Put it somewhere safe. And I got these MB31 cells from Eve. I restarted my video. I don't know if I talked about this already or if it was on the other video I started, but these are MB31. 314 amp hour. Really good cells. QR code said they were made in just a few months ago, so they're pretty fresh. I got them. They were already imported in the USA. And so I guess the next thing to do is I was going to take these. Oops, sorry, I unscrewed that one. This is the where the BMS hooks up to. On the other version I had, they had a flaw in this PCB, and I had to put a jumper. I'm sure they fixed it. Hopefully they fixed it. It was a pretty easy fix, but it shouldn't have come that way on this older version V5. They had a flaw in this, and I just had to jump one of these traces with a little piece of wire. They gave me a little compensation for that. So I'm going to unscrew the rest of this and then see what's in here. I just want to point out one thing that I remembered from the other build of this other box down there. And a tip is I have this long bit, which I use this instead of using a hand screwdriver. I use my drill, but you can get these magnets go on the end of the bits here. See, and it'll hold the screw on without it falling off, which is nice when you're going in these some of these tight places like in here. And especially what I wanted to comment on was on this box. See, these get screwed on the bus bars of the BMS, or the battery bus bar, not the BMS, but if you drop that little screw, and there's these little channels here, these little slots. If you have all the cells in, which you'll see, I'm going to put them together, and you drop it in there, there's no way to get that back out. So you're going to have to take all the cells out. So what I did was I put some tape on all these holes here. You can pull them off after they're done. These, because you don't want to drop one of them little screws in there and have to take all the cells out again to get at them. So between that and the magnet on the end, it really helps. Okay, I opened up the box that was in here. Here's the epoxy. Also in here is the epoxy boards that are going to go on the sides and on the bottom. I don't think they have one for the top. So here's the box that was in there. Here's the little foam sheets that go between the cells. And here's some epoxy sheets that go between the cells. See here. And then what else is in here? Here's the screws for the cells. And come to think of it, when I unbox these, they come with these bus bars They don't come with screws, do they? No. So if you get these cells, they don't even come with the mounting screws. Come with those bus bars, just so you know, in case you're using those cells with something else. Anyway, they came with the screws in the box here. Here's the flexible bus bars. Very nice. Which are going to go between the cells, see? And there's one real extra big one that goes on the end. It's going to go on the back of the two back cells to get these two together. And then, what else is in here? Oh, this didn't come with the other one. It looks like they give a programming cable. Yeah, I guess you can use the JKBMS. I had something around here when I flashed these. I guess I had my own adapter or something else. I think it was an RS-285 adapter. So they give one with it. That's pretty nice. And then these are for putting over your battery. The other one didn't have that, but see, this is the old box, but it's the same on the new one. These things snap off. These covers, and I guess this is for putting on here, or if you don't want to use these covers, I guess. Not sure. But I got one for each side. And then we got some hardware here. These rubber things go in the top holes. And you leave these off when you stack them. So I'm not sure what those other screws are for. I'll find out soon. Yeah, because the other kit came with a whole, I don't know if I had the little box. It came with all the hardware in a little plastic box, because you needed all these screws to mount these and to mount this stuff, to mount this. So it came with a whole kit of all these little screws. But come to think of it, we're going to need the little screws to, there they are, the little screws to mount those into the bus bars. These things into the bus bar. These. So that's one where those screws are. Here they are. And this thing is one of those fire extinguishers, and I don't know what they do. They don't seem like they would do much, but I guess if the battery catches on fire, or it's supposed to, some kind of suppressor. And it's going to go back here in the back. We'll see if they gave the screws on that, because on this version 5 box, Eel box, they didn't give enough of those screws. I improvised. Here we got a cable to connect these two batteries together. Just a regular Ethernet cable in this little red jumper. I'm not sure yet where that's going to go. I asked Eel if they had instructions for building this kit, and they said no, it's all pre-assembled, and I was a little disappointed about that. I'll have to look on their website, see if they have it. And here's an extra bus bar for some reason. Maybe it fell out. Maybe they were short in that other package. Let's see how many we have in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. We'll figure out why that extra one's in there. Well, it's shorter. It's shorter than the others, so it only has one hole. So I'm not sure where that goes. I guess we'll find out. Maybe it goes on here. Connect. No, this has to the positive and the negative. So what that one's for, I don't know yet. They're pretty responsive whenever I email Eel about something. They get back to me pretty quickly. So not as many little screws with it. Like these are the important ones wherever they put them. These ones here. I always wish they'd throw a couple extra ones of these in there. Oh, and these foam strips go under these, they're gonna go, I guess, under these boards here. Well, that's odd, because the boards are already mounted. So I guess you gotta take that whole thing off and put the foam on there. That doesn't make sense, but whatever. So it won't go on the top of them, I don't think. The other ones went on the bottom. But who knows? I'll have to look online and see if Eel's come out with a build guide for this box. They really should. Well, I got these yellow epoxy boards go on the sides here. There's some sticky tape. I'm gonna take the cover off that, stick them on, but this one's a little narrower than the other ones, so that's gonna go on the bottom here. See? When these get on the side, this little skinnier one goes here. Don't accidentally stick the wider one on there, because I think it would fit, but then you'll have to pull it off. Okay, since Eel didn't give the instructions, I only know how to do most of this since I've done the other two, but I stuck the long boards in here. Now the other epoxy board's going to go here along the back. These are going between the cells. But the first one goes here, and then I'm going to put a piece of this. This has sticky on it, but I don't ever take this off and stick it to the cell. I just leave it the way it is. I'm going to put one in between each cell. Now the first cell, you have to decide, since Eel didn't give a build kit, which side's going to be negative and which is positive. And I don't know yet, so I'll have to figure that out. Oops. It's hard to do this thing with one hand. Hang on. Yeah, because I'll have to determine now. The one that ends up on this side is going to be positive. And the reason I know that is because I stuck this back in, and here's the positive terminal, goes to this breaker. So this is going to be positive. And this other one here, this side is going to be negative. And it goes right to the BMS, which that's how it usually always works. So I have to do a little figuring here. How many cells, and then see the next cell. Here's positive. Right now I got this stuff positive. I'm not sure if it's right, but the next one will be negative and positive. Alternate them until it gets to here. And I need to figure that out, because if you put it in backwards, you got to pull them all out and redo them. Which I did on these when I built this, because it seemed like on this they didn't have the version 5 build kit, and I was using version 4 build kit, and they were opposite. So I had to take all the cells out. I didn't have them all screwed together, but it was just one little more step I had to do. And I just looked online, they don't have a build kit for this version 6. They really should, because even though the most complicated parts is probably putting all that together, you still have all these little questions about this stuff. And it wouldn't be that hard for them just to draw something up, but they haven't done it, so I'll figure it out. I just realized that instead of starting from the back, I start from the front. See, I'll start here and put them all in, because I know this side was positive and this one was negative. So I'll go backwards, and it just seemed like more something why I wanted to start from the back. But this is going to have to come out. This is the compression plate, which they just got one screw in here for now holding it in. And that must be, when I hit all that other stuff, there was some screws, big screws, that's going to be for these. Okay, I got all the cells in. Double check. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So if you wanted to start in the back, which is kind of easier in a lot of ways, you'll have negative to positive like that on the back. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. The last one here, negative. That's where that other bus bar from the BMS will come into. And with all that, I have 3 extra of these, which doesn't make sense. Okay, that makes sense now. This one will go here. I put one on this side already, but I didn't put one on this side of these, so there's going to be doubled up. There's going to be 2 of these on each side, like here and here, down here, so that you get a little bit of compression. Because right now, just with this plate on, but you know, not all the screws in, and they're snug. So when you put in these extra 2, when the extra 2 are on, then it'll be just enough to really kind of push these together a little bit, and it's supposed to be all engineered for the right compression. So that's going to be my next step, is to take this plate off, put in the ones, 2 on each end, and then screw it all in and torque it. So since they don't give the build guide, I'm going to go by the torque specs from the other ones. I think everything's like 5 Newton meters or whatever. I have to look up again. These and these. So I have a little torque wrench, a little digital one. We will see what happens. And like I said, I'm going to put tape, a little piece of blue tape on all these, so I don't accidentally drop a screw in, because if you do, there's no way to get it. It'd be very difficult, because the magnet, when a magnet picker-upper things won't fit in there. And maybe you could like have a piece of tape on a long screwdriver, but just avoid the trouble in the first place. And I just realized where that other foam goes. These things here. I don't know why I didn't realize that before, but they're going to go on the bottom here. Which makes sense, because then that's here, so that there's just no chance when you put this on of it shorting something across here. Just an extra security, I guess. So I'll put those on here, and then I'll take this plate off, and then once I get this put on, then I can, well, then the next step after that will be put the bus bars on, and then put these things on and start screwing these little things to the bus, to the to each bus bar. One thing I forgot to mention, and I forgot myself, put this fire suppression thing on first before you start with any of these batteries or anything, because these screws are really hard to get on, especially the bottom one. And I think there's a little sticky pad on the back, but it doesn't reach the case anyway. So put this thing on first. You see I had to pull some of these back a little bit just to get some room for access to that. It's a real pain. And I did put the tape on all these slots. So I'll slide these back if they slide back. Can't do it with one hand holding the camera. There we go. And this thing, I don't know where it's supposed to go. I think it just hangs out in here somewhere. So my next step is going to be, I took that plate off, and then where'd those things go? These, when I put the plate back on, these are going to go like this. Two foam and one epoxy, and you can see they stick out a little bit here. That'll give the compression we need to get on here. So next step is to start installing these bus bars, and I also put the foam tape on these things here, on these plates, or these. I put the foam tape on these. See, there's that piece of foam. So put the bus bar on first. Okay, I got this installed, and I got all the cells in the right way. I'm going to put this plate on, the compression plate. First I have to put these in there. I took them out. So 2 of these and 1 epoxy sheet. Of course I'll put the epoxy sheet facing the metal. Do that on each side. And then I'm going to put these bolts in and torque them, and that'll push all the cells back. And these screws are in this bag with the feet, or with the little rubber, plugs, and they have some more small screws in there. Put them in here. Put them in all in this magnet tray so they don't get lost. There. So that should all add up. We'll find out. And these screws here are the ones that are going to the compression plate. There's some that kind of look like them, but they're a little smaller. These here. Oops. You can see that one's smaller. Those smaller ones are going to go into here and back there to hold those the bars down. The bars that go to the balance leads, these. Oops. So those will go in there, but first I'm going to compress the plate before I put these in. Put the compression plate in first. Here's the Eel website, USA stock, 570 version 6 box, and it looks like they got some version 4 boxes. But anyway, I bought version 5 earlier this summer. Those are the ones I showed. And then here's the MB31 batteries, $380 for 4 of them. Now they show them coming with this, with these flexible bus bars there, but they don't, like I showed, they're just those flat aluminum ones. In case you're just buying the batteries, you're not going to get those good bus bars. Just so you know, you get these flat ones. See? These aluminum flat ones. There they are. Anyway, we need to find the torque specs. Like I said, they don't have. We'll go to their manual, DIY manual page. And here they got stackable 48 volt boxes. And they have, well, that doesn't have the, that must not have been the right place. Let's go back. We need the version 5 box. Where is it? .48 volt. Well, anyway, I think I got it up here because I got it before. Or I might have to go dig in my file for it. I thought it was in here. Nope. Hang on, I'll find it. Okay, I think it's gonna be here. This another folder, battery box. There we go. Here's the version 5. We'll open that up, hopefully. Version 5 assembly video. Here's the manual. Let's see if that'll open up. There we go. See, this is the old one, the one I showed. It doesn't have any breakers, just that button. And we'll go down to somewhere down here where they got the assembly. Actually, this seems different than what I looked at before, but we need to find the torque specs. Actually, maybe I went to the wrong folder. Let me see again. Went to here, and then we went to the version 5. We got, oh, user manual. Let's try this one. Okay, yeah, this is what I saw before. They kind of go step by step. But remember, the first thing to do, this is for version 5. You had to put together all the BMS stuff, so they had you doing that first. But we don't have to do that in the version 6 box. We did put these on, and the other thing they don't mention is, first thing, put that fire arrestor in the back, because it'll be a pain to get in. So here we're up at this step here. I'm putting the compression plate back on. It says M5 screws. Well, I don't know M5 screws, but they take these M5 screws. I just checked, they take this 8mm socket for those screws. So I don't know if metric M5 means, I guess I don't know what it means. Not a metric guy. Tighten to a torque of 5 Newton meters. That's what we wanted. And then we're going to put these bars in next. And I don't think they give torque specs on that. That doesn't have to be torqued. And let's see if this is the same configuration the other one was. The plus there and the minus. Let's see if it's the same on that box as this one. Plus and minus. So yeah, it was the same as on the version 5 box. If you wanted to use this as a guide. Boy, everything's falling over here today. You could use that as a guide, because it's the same. Now the version 4 box was opposite, and before I got this from them, I was using the version 4 guide, and those were all opposite. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put this together. Put the pressure plate on. Okay, I got all those screws in. I'm gonna try the torque wrench. I got this very inexpensive, cheap torque wrench. digital torque wrench. I think I'm gonna have to go get an extension. I need an extension between this and the socket maybe, but let's give it a try. I got it set for 5 Newton meters like they said. I just heard it compressing something. I think it was the foam. What I'm going to do is I'm going to snug all these up a little more. It's going in quite a bit. I got the screw gun here. Look, they left a notch so this fits in. That was some good engineering by someone. So I'm going to just snug them up. I'm not giving torque with this. I'm just going until before it starts torquing it in. Just a little bit. It saved me a lot of wrenching with that other thing. I have a feeling that plate goes almost all the way in at 5. We'll find out here. You might not even need a torque wrench. Just put them in all the way. There, it's starting to give me some resistance now. Let's see what it says. There we go, that's 5. That's 5. I'll do all the middle ones first, then I'll go to the other side. I don't know how to explain how much I'm putting on there by feel. Anyway, I'm going to do all these. I'll just go by sound now. If you look, they're almost all the way in. Well, there's a little bit of gap in there. Down in here. Where is it? Down in there. That's the gap between the pressure plate. Let's do this side. This one just barely fits in there. Got the extension. That one's tight. Anyway, I'll get all these tight, torqued up, but I guess it's not all the way in, but it's got a little give. So I guess you should use a torque wrench. I think this was like 30 or 40 bucks when I got it. It's kind of hard to figure out all the menus on it, but if you found someone did a video and explained it, and then after messing with it a few times, because you can get it set wrong and it won't show the torque, and this is the mode that once you figure out, that's what you use, where it shows it and it beeps. So I may also use the torque wrench on all these. Okay, we'll go back to the guide here. There are the version 5 instructions, and it shows there these PCBs, these are different. There's an A and B. So this one here says on here somewhere. See, it says B. Another one says A. So according to this, the version 5 guide, we'll go by it. Hope it's right. Where did it go? Where did that go? Did I bump it? Here we go. Shows here that the B goes on the left and A goes on the right. So this is B. So we're going to put B on this side, on the left. And they put slots in here so it fits in. That's probably why they put the foam on the bottom, in case you were to short these cells with it. You don't get a big spark. And this little wire's in the way here. Put it out of the way for now. There. Fits in there kind of snug. Line these up. And line the ones in the back up. There we go. And now we'll put these smaller screws will go in there. These. And I'm not going to get a socket for those. I'm just going to use the Phillips head in here. They're pretty small and they don't have any torque specs. We'll just put them in real snug. Anyway, the other one's going to go on the other side. This one here, it's going to go on here. Like that. Whoops, I put this one in backwards. You were probably yelling that at me when I was putting it in. This has to be on this end to plug in the BMS. Just seeing if you're paying attention. There. See? This one's black, this one's white. In case you don't look at the number, the black one goes on the right. We'll find out when I turn it all on if it works right. We want to get this one lined up too. There it is. I'm looking through the camera. There's the holes lined up there and up here. So now I will put all the screws in. And like I said, I use this magnet that slips on to hold these screws so I can turn it upside down and I don't drop the screw. Let's do it on this side. It's a little, the magnet kind of gets in the way a little bit, but not too much. I just go real slow because I know I know it grabbed on there. I'll get another screw. We'll get it lined up and get it on the magnet. Where it is, there it is. See? I'll put it in this, and I'm going to go around all of them. I'm going to go around all of them, put them all in. There's 2 here, 2 back there, 2, so 4 of them total. Okay, so I'm going to use a regular screwdriver here to tighten these up. I just kind of barely snugged them with that drill. Don't use the drill if you're not good and know your limit on it. So I got a good feel for this, so I'm going to just make them pretty tight. I'll go around and do all those. And the other thing I was going to mention is that if you watch the Off-Grid Garage, he put a towel or something over all these so you don't actually short things out. Especially when you get the bus bars put in, because if you had using something like this and you dropped it across there, you could make some big sparks. You don't want to do that. Here's the bus bars, flexible bus bars. This is the one that's going to go in the back. These go between the batteries. You can see they flex in the middle. Here's the ones that came with the batteries, just a piece of aluminum and no flex. So I'll probably use them for something someday, but not for this job. Maybe I'll scrap them. So anyway, I'm going to start in the back. With this one back here, it goes between here. I'll use the screws, these bigger screws that came in this bag with all the screws. And I'm just going to go in, put them all in. Probably snug them with the Phillips, and then I'll use the torque wrench on them. See? And then these, later on we're going to come back with these. And these are labeled cell, like this one says cell 9 minus. So you'd start here, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9. And that's the minus side of the battery. You can't see it under there now, but you can see the plus side here. So, and the notch is right there. So it's going to be pretty obvious that goes right there. And there's some little tiny screws that came with it. And see that one, I want to get the flat side down, so I'll spin this around. Probably wouldn't make a difference, but when I put these on, I want it flat like that. It'll go on here. And that's why I said to tape these holes up, because if you drop one of them little screws in here, you're not going to be happy, especially if they didn't give you extra screws. So I'm going to start putting all that together. Yeah, so I got this one. I didn't torque it, but I got it in. Just going to show how these go in then. This one's going to connect from cell 8 to cell 7, like so. See? And I'm using this foam here to kind of, foam that came with the batteries to kind of cover everything up so I don't accidentally short something out. And then this one's going to go here. So you can see, connects these two, comes over, connects these two, and I'll go all the way to the end. And then it's going to be the same on this side. These two, and then these two will get jumped, and then I'm going to put them all together now. I was just thinking that maybe the smart thing to do, I didn't do any of my other batteries, but maybe take a rag with some alcohol and just wipe all these off and the bus bars off. You know, you wonder if there's a little machining oil in there. Doesn't make you wonder sometimes? It's not steel, so that you get steel stuff, it's always a little oily. So I don't know if I'm going to take these all out and do it. I didn't do it on any of my other batteries, but in case your attention for detail, it probably couldn't hurt just to give everything a wipe off. There's no way to tell. Okay, this is take 3 or 4 of this process. I made a mistake, and I'll show you what it was. Well, this one here, I had put on, I got the dimple down instead of up. That's not so bad, but see where the where that screw is, that little insert? It's got to go pointing towards the plus. And the reason is that when you look at this, it says cell 14 plus. So that's cell 14. And then this will go right on there. If you put it on backwards, like this, even with the hump in the right position, and you have this pointing towards the negative, it might have the same electrical effect. Because see, now you're putting it on, this would be cell 16, 15, cell 15 negative, but it's electrically connected to cell positive. But do it right, could make a little difference in the resistance. So whenever you put these on, and I had to take just about all of them off and redo them. This one's okay. I don't know if I redid that one. This one's okay because it's towards the plus. This one's got to be turned around because it's towards the negative. See? So this one says cell 13 plus. So that should be right here. The little insert. So this will go right here. So out of all these I did, I had about maybe only one or two of them in the right orientation. And I was wondering why I didn't do that on the last build I did. And I think I'll have to go back and look at my pictures, but I think when these came, they had a insert on either side, whereas these only have one. So I think that was the difference why I didn't notice it on the other ones. But I'll go back and look in my photos. And I've said I figured out what this thing is. This thing goes here. If you use single pole cells, these are double pole. On a single pole cell, the post is about right here and right here. And see, this would line up. If you tried using this one, I did use that one on my other build. I had single pole ones. I had to scrunch it way up. So this solves that problem. This additional ones that they gave. They didn't give that with the other build. That was the version 5-pack. So that's a couple differences I've noticed. And I guess that's about it. I got to redo everything, retorque everything. I was showing how I was torquing these on. And I'll show that next. But I have to finish redoing these. I use the screwdriver, I use the drill. If you're careful, I use the drill. I can put these in and out without, put them in real loose and then go and torque them with the torque wrench. Torquing these all to 5 Newton meters. Okay, I'm putting in the little screws now. So this one here, I put a few of them in, see? Cell 1 plus goes to cell 1 plus. And now this one says cell 2 plus, and here's cell 2 plus. Here's how I'm putting them in. I'm using this, where is it? I'm using a screwdriver extension with the magnet, and it works pretty good because I can just get them in. So this is cell 4. It's going to go in this hole. I can't hold the camera and do this at the same time, but you see when I get that in there, this will go right in. And like I mentioned a couple times, that's why I put the tape over here, because if you drop that screw in there, you're going to be sorry. There's no way to get it out without taking all the cells out. And I have just enough screws. I counted them all. I don't know if I mentioned the other one. I thought I was short one of these, but I found those. One of them was stuck on the bottom of my magnet tray. So I'm going to finish this up. I just torqued all these down. And I put a blue mark on them, see, with a Sharpie, just to witness that you torqued them in case it ever came loose or something, which you probably won't ever. Okay, I got them all on. I routed them a couple different ways. This one I got coming straight over here. And I kind of push it down. These over here I looped around. Doesn't really matter how, I just was trying to get whatever seemed most correct. Kind of did these on this side this way. They come around here. And then there's two on here. This one is labeled cell 9 negative. This is the negative side. See, there's positive, so this has to be negative. And this PCB says cell 8 positive. And same thing, this negative says has to be positive. So I got them all on, I double checked them all. Ready to put on the BMS now. Okay, I took the BMS, which is all pre-assembled, and you know, I never checked the torque on all these. I guess I could. We'll assume the factory torqued them, they didn't mark them. I might pull this back off and just double check all these tightness on these. But anyway, I just fit it over the side, and then get this slides through underneath, and so does this one. Like we said before, this is the positive here, coming from the positive terminal, goes through the breaker. And the fuse somewhere. No, the fuse is on the negative side here. Okay, so the positive comes through the breaker, and then it goes to this positive terminal. So if you want to double check you did everything right, follow this through, goes to positive. And then these, when I bolt these on, these will come here. It says cell 16 positive, so that's going to go here. And this says cell 1 negative, which this is the negative, that'll go here. And then this wire was hanging loose in there. This is going to go on the positive here. That's going to provide the power for the BMS. So it's going to go under this screw here, either one. And then the only other two wires you have to bring through are these. They're going to click into this for the balance leads. They'll go, they're color coded, which I see I just did backwards. No, wait, no, I did it right. White on the white one, black on the black one. One shorter than the other, so this one's longer because it has to go all the way across. And I snaked them under these, underneath these. I didn't bring them on top, so if you see what I mean, I brought them over under both of those. Anyway, I'm gonna pull that back off and just double check the torque on this, since no one marked them that they checked them. And then I'll put it back on, and I'm gonna put these on, that, put all those leads on, and torque everything down on top. Okay, took it back off, checked them. These two, they were just a smudge less than my torque wrench said. So they're probably torqued. I suppose their torque wrench and mine might be a little bit off. Barely turned a little bit, and then I checked. I didn't check these with the torque wrench. I just put a regular wrench on, made sure they're real tight. These under here on the breaker, I'd have to take the whole breaker off, which I don't want to do right now, because the screws to tighten them on the underneath there. So I'm going to put it back on and finish putting this together. Okay, the build's completed. I want to explain what I did, how I put it together. Final steps is, when I had that on, I left this leaning out a little bit, because then I snapped these on first, because it's easier to get your hands in there to snap them in. So put these on first, make sure they snap in all the way. There's a little latch on there, you'll hear it click when it goes on. And then the second thing I did was I put these screws in, and these didn't quite line up. I had to, like, this one I grabbed with a needle nose, you know, being real careful not to short anything out. And I kind of pulled it back and wiggled it around because it was a little bit more this way, so its holes didn't line up. So you might even want, before you even, when you just dry fit it, you might want to just tweak those over so they're going to line up better, you know, with it off, because you'd be able to grab them, twist them around a little bit. But I did it while I was on there. And this one was a little bit farther this way. You can see it's cocked over a little bit, but I got the holes to line up okay. So then I put the screws in, and then I got these two set, cell 16 plus. Geez, cell 16 plus. This one's cell 1 minus. It says right there. So I got these two set, and then I put, the final thing I did was put this power lead on, and I put a little zip tie around it to keep it neater because it was extra long. I didn't want to try to stuff it back in there, so it's all nice and neat. Now I guess I could take all these pieces of tape out of here, but I guess it really wouldn't matter if I left them in there. But I'll probably just take them out. I don't know. If it matters for ventilation, probably not. But I'll take all those pieces of tape off. And oh, I should say that when I first got these two snapped in, I pushed this on and then I put just a couple screws in it on the side to hold it there. You know, to hold it steady while I did the rest of it. So put one on each side. Now I'm going to go back in and put the remaining screws in here and on the side here, and then I can put the top on, put the top plate on, which is over sitting to the side here. Put those screws in. It came out just right on screws. There's a couple extras, which is nice, especially that little one in case you ever drop and lose one of them. So everything was there. It ended up, I don't know if I thought I was short of one of these, but they were all there. So good deal. Now I'm going to finish screwing this together, pull that tape out, and then turn it on. Actually, I could turn it on now if I want. Let's see what it does. Well, I guess I don't need the breaker on. The breaker's off. Probably want to make sure that's off when you assemble, which I looked at after the fact. The BMS should turn on though. I'll just press this button. Lit up, that's good. There we go. First firing up. 45.56. Change it to English first. I think you do this. Touch screen. Battery capacity. 40 amp hours. Well, that isn't right. We'll have to change that to 314 for these MB31s. I'm going to do all that with the phone app, the Android app. It's much easier. This is glowing red. I don't know if it changes colors. Showing alarm. I think that's normal until you get all this stuff set up right. So, yeah, it works. So I'm going to just finish up the last things. And then before I hook this up to the other batteries, I'm going to probably put a charge in it. They come about 30% full, so I'll charge it up. I have a power supply that'll go up to 60 volts, so I'll be able to charge it to, you know, 55, 2 or whatever. That's what I usually use. And then otherwise, if I just hooked it up and turned it on and hooked it up to other batteries, there'd be a huge amount of current coming from other batteries to this. I did that on this one. I never pre-charged it up, and I had an 80 amp current flow for, you know, just a minute or two until the voltage is equalized out. But from the other batteries into this one, because this is a 280 amp hour battery, so you know, that was well below the fuse and the breaker rating, so there was no problem. But you know, probably better to have them more equalized. So I'll get this close to full. And then the next time these fill up, I'll hook up the cables. I'll hook these cables up to it. I already got a place on the bus bar for it down here. If my cables reach, which I hope they do. So that's it. I guess I can show the setup, but off-grid garage details all that. So anyway, it's nice to have the build done. Get this thing online. And I hope this video helped anybody who's building it. I found a few things, even though I've built 2 of them already, different version. I found a few things different in this one. They really should have a build guide. Like these, I swear on these, I swear the other ones had one on each side, so it didn't matter which way you put them on. But it was much better turning them around. I remembered a couple details before I put the top on. I wanted to tape these temperature sensors down. So I used some of this, they call it Captan tape. It's like a high temperature tape. You see it used in electronics. I had some around. I bought it at AliExpress a while back. And it seems pretty sticky. We'll see if it stays on there. And so I taped all these down. There's 4 of them. One here, one here, one here, and this one. And then I also taped down this lead from the fire suppression device. I'm not quite sure how those things work. I think Big Clive on YouTube did a test of something that looked like this. You can look that up and see. I just saw that the other day. I think it blows up some kind of stuff in there that maybe is supposed to suppress the whatever. Makes big mess from what I saw. But yeah, so now I can close it up. And I was going to show too how I got these other 2 on my network. I know one criticism that Off-Grid Garage had of these Eel batteries is there's nothing over the top here. You know, they don't give any kind of insulation between there, because you put this metal lid on top, you know. Put this on, and there's nothing between the steel and that. You got all these terminals, so I got a few of these extra epoxy sheets from a different battery build I was gonna do, so I think I'm just gonna slide them in here. I mean, at least over these terminals here. The main terminals, see? That one slides in there pretty nice. And I probably got enough of them to put all the way along here if I want. There's nothing holding them down. I guess I could tape them on or something, but I think I'll just cover up at least this front part. Maybe a couple on the back. You know, why not? If I got them, doesn't hurt anything. Why not, right? Might as well cover it all up. Maybe I just put a couple pieces of tape on here. You know, if you ever put something super heavy on that lid and pushed it down, it still would hit this first before it's going to hit those terminals. But I don't know, since they're just going to be sitting around here. I know they didn't cost much. I'll just put them up here. And we're all covered before I put that lid on. Okay. I went to charge this battery and it wouldn't charge. So you can see here the voltage is really low, which I should have noticed right away, but it didn't sink in. And I figured out the problem. See here? Cell 4 and 5 are missing. It's giving an alarm. And so we go here, cell, here's 4, it's hooked up, 5, it's hooked up, 5, we follow the trace back. Now on these version 5s, they had a different circuit board where one of the traces came and just stopped, and I had to run a jumper. It like stop somewhere like here, and then there was a spot here where you had to jump it to. But this isn't the same board, but it has the same problem. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this off, this connector off, and then start ohming it out to see if there's a problem with the board. I should be able to ohm out and find that each lead comes back to here. I'm going to turn it off first. Yeah, kind of a bummer that I have the same issue on a different board that you'd think would be fixed. Or it could be something in the harness here. The harness going back to the BMS. But I'll try to find out with the meter. Here's what I found wrong with this. I have this hooked up to the pin 4. See, no continuity. Get this sort of. See, no continuity. But if I stab into the insulation here, see, this end of this wire, the end of this wire here, the insulation isn't stripped where they did the crimp. So it's not making contact to this. So I don't know how I can fix it. I'm sure it'll send me a new wiring loom. See, it's pin number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, or is that 5? I can't remember, but it's 4 or 5. And that's the problem. This is the one that plugs into the BMS here. Let me get it. Right here. This is the connector here. So it's starts there. This is battery 4. That's the one I'm missing. Right there, that's the one I have pulled out right here. So, and I'll check 5. That'll be on the next one over here. It has the 2 temperature probes. Starts out with temperature probe, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Temperature probe, and then it goes 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm missing 4 and 5, so I'll check 5 next and see if that one's bad too. Here's what I did. I used these snips. I use these snips to carefully try to bend that. That's a metal connector on there like steel. I tried to carefully bend those tabs back, and it was like I thought. It was just crimped on the insulation, no bare wire. So I bared up some wires and tried to smash it back in there. So now I'm going to try to stick this back in here and then see if I can get it to work. It should work if I can get this connector back in without it falling apart. Okay, I got it put back together. To take this front plate off, I just had to take the 3 screws out each side here, and then take these off, this off, unscrew this, and then this came off. I put it all back together. I just made that repair I found on the wiring loom down there. This one that on the other side of it where it plugs in the BMS had just one bad, like the end of the wire on the other side was not crimped on right. So now I'm going to try it out. This battery's been taking me longer than it should. I'll get the, I'll turn it on, see if it turns back on. It went on. Should know right away if it's fixed because, yep, showing the right voltage this time. Instead of 45, it's showing 52. And there was just one, even though 2 cells were missing, there was just one wire that was disconnected or a bad connection, but it caused 2 of those cells. We'll get the app opened up here, and it should show all the cells on here too. There they are, 4 and 5 there. No more alarm. So now I can charge it up and hook it up again. I had this charger. I'll show that charger in a minute here. Okay, here's what I'm going to charge with. I have a Riden 6024, means it goes up to 60 volts, 24 amps. And it's got this AC power supply. I mounted these in these little ammo cans. So here's the power supply, runs off AC. And I guess I leave that open when I run it to cool off. But anyway, I got the voltage set 55.5, 16 amps. I've never really pushed it all the way. Overvolt protection's 56 and then 20 amps. And yesterday when I tried turning it on, it wouldn't charge because that thing was messed up. The BMS had to shut off, and it was like fluctuating voltage here. See, now it's showing. This is battery charge mode here. It has some extra protections like this temperature probe. If you want to use it, you stick it on the battery. And I don't know, it's got some other protections instead of just using it in regular power supply mode. So if I push this button, it should charge. There we go, 16 amps. Let's see what the display says. It says 17 amps. One of them's right. So if this battery is like, usually they come 30% charge, it'll take a long time to charge it. 16 amps, but we'll just let it charge. Sun's out, got plenty of power. And then tomorrow, when it's charged up close to these are full now. And this one's full now. 99%. 99%. So when it's close to full, I'll hook it up with the rest of the batteries here and turn it on. And then try to make sure that hopefully sometimes you gotta fiddle to get the SoC to show correctly on these. I had to do it on both of these, do a little bit of trickery to get them set right. So let's look at the app, see what the app says. We'll see. Still hooked up here. It's showing, yeah, showing the same thing as this, 17.6. I don't know where the difference is. I get my clamp meter and see. Anyway, we're charging. And away we go. The battery's finally together. Afraid to put the lid on it again because then something else will screw up. But we'll talk to Eel about making it right for this bad thing I had to fix. They did send me a refund last time when I had to repair the two bad PCBs in here, but their PCB in this one was fine. It was just quality control on that one wire that got crimped on the terminal. So I'll have them send me a new wiring room, I think. They're always responsive, so far so good. Yeah, one final note about my battery situation. I don't know if I said, but I'm building an insulated box around it. It'll get all enclosed. And then this here was all enclosed last year. I added this so that I could fit these new batteries in it. So these will get shoved over. I'll put a space heater in between here, and I won't have to heat this whole space. I'll just be heating the battery box, and that'll be controlled off of this here. It's a temperature controller, an Inkbird. It has its temperature sensor in here. And this one's Wi-Fi control, so I can reset it on Wi-Fi. It's all hooked up to my home assistant. So that's the deal with that. Okay, I'm going to turn this one on. I charged it all night. And it says it's, according to this, I don't know how accurate that is, it has to go through a cycle. It says 92%. And I put in 226 amp hours plus some other amp hours. So if it came 30% full, it's probably, it's probably pretty close to full. So when I turn it on, when I flip the switch on, the breaker, I have this on here. We'll see how much current flows. I'd like this to stay up, but it won't. You're supposed to put this, see it's got the plus sign. So you want to put it towards the source of the power coming in, which is from those bus bars. And it just wants to slide down. Let's see if I can bend this wire up. Because we want to see. It's hard to do all this stuff with one hand. I need to get a tripod for this. Well, I'll just have to move it to here. This is an auto ranging clamp meter. Let's see what it does. Very annoying when it slides down, but we'll flip this breaker on and then we'll see. It's on. It's taking 48 amps into it, 46. Shows right here too. 47. I was trying to get the software, monitoring software to graph it, but I don't have that together yet. See, it's coming down as the voltage equalizes. He says 54.16, 54.18, 54.2. They're all pretty close in voltage. This is an MB31. This is an MB31. This is 280 amp hour. These are 314 amp hour, the MB31s. This is LF 280. They're Eve cells, but they're only 280 amp hour. But they're all showing close to the same SOC, which I don't know if it has to go through a cycle on this first to calibrate itself. This version 19 BMS. These two are version 15. So anyway, that wasn't so dramatic. If it would have been a lot lower, I would have seen more current transfer. So we'll let the solar charge it up now instead of that power supply. I'm just finishing up editing this video, and I have a bunch of clips on here that I talk about how to get the software updated on this JKBMS, and I show how it's on the Home Assistant and some other things more related to software. So I'm going to make a separate video for that, so look for that. I'll probably have the link on this one, but I want to finish this video up. It's been long enough. And Eel did send me a new wiring harness on this, no problem. Didn't take them too long to get it to me, but I haven't put it on because my repair is working. So hope you enjoyed this video and hope it helps someone.